myself with, because my clients, the good ones, are raving fans. In fact, as I'm speaking to you, got a text message, big shout out to Carl Latham from Cairns, who says, he's actually trying to impersonate me. He says, Tom, don't forget to say, hey guys, hey girls. Yes, that's me. That's what I say. And he says, I love Agentbox. It's good when you got a happy client. You must be happy about that.
We definitely get lots of positive reviews, which always makes the job a little bit more enjoyable. It's just like it is with real estate agents. You know, if people are raving about you, that tells you you're doing something right.
Yes. So we've got a session on this afternoon, guys and girls, where we are not going to be using PowerPoint. We're going to have a free-flowing question and answer session between David and I, where we're going to be talking about 4 or 5 weeks to go. We want you to park your car on top of the hill. Correct. When you go away, we want to make sure your car's on the top of the hill. So when you come back in the new year, it's downhill and you've got momentum and gravity on your side. So a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about, David, is stuff that they should be doing between now and the 24th of December.
Absolutely. And I guess from my perspective, Tom, it's great to have someone like you on board, because I get to speak to officers all the time. And one of the common themes that people have been saying at the moment is, you know, listings are starting to close up for the year, but there's still a couple of weeks left. What should I be saying to clients? I need to be calling people, but really, what should I be saying right now is the common question that I get asked. So I guess I put that to you. What would you be saying to the people you're calling right now?
Look, the great news about this time of the year is you've got a reason to call them. There are times, David, when you haven't spoken to anyone for a while and you look at their name and you think, oh, what am I going to say to him? Well, in November, late December, early November, late November, this time of the year, you've got the reason to say, hey, and this is, I'm gonna deliver this phone call on the way it should sound like. So I might actually even just use you as the person I'm making the phone call to, the role play. And it would be as simple as this. Hey, David, it's Tom Panos here from XY Real Estate. How you going?
Doing well, mate.
David, it's this time of the year where I take 2 minutes per client and I ring them up and I give them a quick summary on what happened in the market in your area this year and what I think is going to happen next year. Now, it's going to take me around 2 minutes. Do you want me to have a crack at it and try and, share with you what I think's happened that affects your home?
Mate, I'm having a coffee, so I got 2 minutes, so fire away.
Okay. The first thing I want to let you know is that we expected COVID was going to negatively impact the price. In fact, all the experts said a drop between 30% and minus 10%. That's what they thought. In fact, what happened is, I'm pleased to let you know, the health of your home is rock solid. 5 ticks, it's actually gone up. COVID clarity as such increased the price of your home. And what happened is people began to realize their home's their castle. The second thing is we noticed is that your area, being an area that's a very lifestyle area, benefited it, and a lot of people moved to that area. There was simply a shortage of properties. Your property's gone up around 7 to 8% in the last 12 months. In addition to that, I've got to let you know, David, that we're forecasting that might be the peak of it. We're actually thinking to ourselves, there's a few choppy waters ahead. We've got JobKeeper being withdrawn in March. We've got the banks that are stopping their holidays in mortgages on March. We've also got the vaccine that's coming. And for many people, that's given a bit more certainty. So, they might just stay, put. Maybe the big exodus to the lifestyles will slow down. But one thing is for sure, the media is very favoring real estate at the moment. And what I want to ask you, and this is a key question, out of role play, David, this is a question I want everyone that's watching to ask their clients. How has COVID-19 impacted your real estate plans? And then let the clients speak right? And get into a free-flowing conversation. Because I think one of the most important things you've got to do is work out where people are in their mindset. I mean, David, COVID-19 has meant people may have said to you, they're going to sell in 2024. COVID-19 has changed everything. I mean, there are unfortunately a lot more separations, right? COVID-19 created family issues. COVID-19 created size issues. People want a Zoom room. COVID-19 forced some people to ditch the unit in the city and to move out to the suburbs. For some people, it made them move from the suburbs and move to the coast and to the country. So what do you got to do? Get on the phone and check in where your clients are. And this call that I'm talking about, your November, December summary to the year call, is a very useful thing to do the last 4 weeks of the year.
I think that's really good as well. And that last point there on the rate of change of people's plans, like a lot of salespeople I talk to, they might have maybe a quarterly follow-up plan, but 3 months now could completely change someone's actual circumstances. So it really is now the time to be speaking to more people better than ever, because their plans could change at any time. Redundancies happen. I am speaking to a lot of offices out in rural areas, and they're absolutely getting slammed at the moment, people moving out of the metro cities. So I think you're spot on with that prediction there as well.
And look, the other thing I'd say, David, is I press to everyone that's watching this, introduce your clients to list now, launch later strategy. And what I mean is secure the listing, sign it up, get control of the listing. Don't take it for granted that a client says to you, I'll talk to you in the new year and we'll get cracking with launching our property. Over the holidays, David, people talk to friends and family. They run into other agents. Some person says to them, oh, have you thought about the agent down the road? And what happens is, don't assume you're going to get that business. So why not go off and secure it? And as I said at the start of the video, let's get that handbrake on that car at the top of the hill. Start with 6 to 10 listings to come and launch in the new year.
Okay, cool. So coming back to those clients, we've got a bit of a script there now, but a lot of our clients have 4,000 or 5,000 people in their database. Sometimes they've been able to grow that over time. So if you had to refine that to some specific people, who would be on your top of the call list for you?
Look, and I know that with Agentbox, real estate agents have different ways that they categorize, right?
Absolutely.
I get it, right? So it's not as simple as me saying, hey, everyone, go to your category A clients and there. I would say what you want to be doing is calling anyone that has got an indication of selling in the next 12 months, right? The second people I'd be calling are what I call your VIPs. These are people that are your raving fans. And every real estate agent's got, somewhere between 50 and 75 people that have bought from them. They love them. They get on. The conversation flows. Pick up the phone and call them, and don't just assume that sending out, a 35,000 email database is going to get there, right? Pick up the phone and be calling them. So it's the VIP clients and any client that's indicated they're thinking of selling between 0 and 12 months.
Okay, cool. So I guess for those Agentbox clients who are on this today, that would be ideally their pipeline A, maybe their pipeline B or C categories. It's actually a good topic now that I think about it, that I'd be interested to hear if people on this today are interested in actually hearing about what categories people are using and potentially how to set those up. That might be a good session for the future. But for the people right now, absolutely the pipeline hot, warm and cold, because that's normally your 30 days, your 60 days, your kind of 90 or more. The other one that actually, now that I think of it, would be the appraisals. People open up, they create the appraisals in the system, and the end of the year is a good time to kind of review them. I think people kind of let them sit. They might be a little hopeful that, you know, they've done an appraisal a little while ago and they're still tossing and turning about whether or not to sell. They would be a great list to be able to call, clean up, either list for now, close off because they're just not changing. And that means you can start off with a really good kind of pipeline of people to call. So that'd be a really good thing for Agentbox clients to do.
Look, David, anyone that's had an appraisal this year, I would say should be on your list to call, right? As far as I'm concerned, a call is 5 minutes, right? Now, you're not going to be spending your time at the opera bar having drinks like previous years. There's less Christmas parties, right?
Less Christmas parties this year.
There's less Christmas parties. We've got to accept it. And the second thing is, you do end up having a bit of time in December to do this sort of stuff, right? You do have this time to do it. So I would say to every agent out there, block out certain days of the week and go on a phone blitz with these summary November, December calls. That's what I'd be doing, and include the appraisals. And that's very easy. On Agentbox, they can easily have a look at all appraisals they've done, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. The appraisal record is always stored there. So even if you've gone and done it earlier in the year, it was just a price check and you've closed it off and wasn't actually a listing opportunity, they're still there in the system. And coming back to what you were saying with doing it prior to going onto the market, we're finding a lot of agents are obviously capturing a lot of buyers through the app. They've got the QR code, those kind of, they're capturing all that data now. So there is a really good opportunity for agents to be able to list properties, show it to those buyers that they've already captured. They're in the system. That's nice and easy, and do something pre-market before Christmas, or have it already signed up for January, ready for launch.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. There's nothing worse, David, than coming back to work on the 25th of January. You've put on 4 kilos, your pants are tight, you're tired, and a lot of people have a break and they come back tired, and then you sit there and you stare at your computer screen and you say, where do I start? Who do I call? What do I say? Imagine this. There's a competitor down the road that's actually launching properties on the market while you're doing that. There's a competitor down the road that's getting signboards put up. There's a competitor down the road that's getting marketing put up. So I got to tell you, the way you start your year is the way your year unfolds. Remember that.
That's a good line. Well, I guess this is probably not the year to be having the holiday until Australia Day, like a lot of real estate agents do, and starting work on the 27th of January or the weekend after that. Do you reckon many people are going to work through Christmas? They've had a bit of a break. They've been, in the sense that real estate might have been a bit quiet during lockdowns and things. Do you reckon people are going to work through Christmas and try and keep everything going?
Look, Novak, who's a client of yours and a client of mine, have told me that they're working through, right?
Okay.
Kaloshi, who's also a client of yours and a client of mine.
Great business.
Great business. Had coaching with them this morning, have told me that they're working through. So there is a bunch of clients, and they're good ones, that are working through. I won't say that most of the industry is going to work through. I think most of the industry is going to close on the 20th of December, and they're going to open on the 4th of January. I don't think, David, we're going to have real estate agents coming back after Australia Day like previous years, or after the Australian Open, which, by the way, I don't even think it's confirmed that it's on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting thing, because I think everyone's going to be inclined to want to work, but everyone's had such a big, busy year, they're going to need a break. And if there was ever a time that we deserved one, I think now would be the case. So I guess either way, whether they're back on the 4th, whether they've got a little bit more time off because they've got kids out of school, what would you be doing to plan? What would you be doing to take stock of the year that's gone, and what else would you be doing to plan for the
Okay.
next 12 months?
So, David, one of the things I'd probably do is get on the scales and see how real estate fit I was for the year. So, I think one of the things I'd be doing is capturing a snapshot of what my year was like in terms of my numbers. And
Okay.
that's not a difficult thing to do. I think it's a lot easier to do if you're a client that's actually got their content and their numbers into Agentbox. And but here are the things I would do. I look at number of listings for the year, number of sales for the year,
Yep.
GCI commission for the year. That would be at a higher level, the three metrics, because then that's going to show me how I went versus 2019.
Yep.
Then what I would do is I would, after I've had a look at that, reflected on it, I would say to myself, what's worked for me this year? What hasn't worked for me? What did I learn that has made me more efficient? There's been a fair few learnings this year because of the COVID-19,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yep.
Okay. And then what I would do is I would set my targets for January to December next year, right? And I would say, if that's what I did in 19, this is what I did in 20, I'm now going to set my targets for 2021. This is the time to do your goal setting, right? And then if you want to go to a more granular level, you'll actually look at things at a deeper position. And then you're going to look at things like metrics like appraisals. How many appraisals did I go to, right? And there are some real estate agents that I've got in the real estate gym that actually go off and they use my prospector, which is their prospecting calls. So they actually have a look at how much prospecting did I actually do to get that. So it depends how much of a person you are in terms of the detail. But I'll tell you one thing, David, what you measure, you manage. It's critical.
Yeah, it's an old saying that, and I find when I speak to clients at this time of the year, they generally fit into one of two categories. They either go to look at the data and realize that they haven't been putting it into the system, and they're saying, oh shit, I can't find the data I need to plan for the new year. And that kind of ticks the box and says, okay, well, that's my goal for this year, to start getting that in there so I don't run into this problem next year. And then the other one is, well, people who do have the data, right? So you're right. They're looking at average commission rates. They're looking at the number of sales. They're looking at the number of listings and being able to put that into their targets. And for the likes of, especially those bigger businesses like Koloshi, who have sales managers and those kind of things, we're probably helping the agents keep to account. That's obviously really, really easy. But, even if you're just a small single operator, that data can still be there. So you can plan that out and actually look at what you want to achieve for the next year.
Yeah.
I guess with planning that, you were mentioning appraisals as well. I know, back in my days when I was at McGrath, I used to kind of look at saying, well, I might want to achieve, let's just say $500,000 of GCI this year. I'm sure lots of gym members are probably doing more than that, but being conservative and putting in that, breaking it down per month. So looking at listings and appraisals and things like that. What's your kind of opinion on working that out and how that should be calculated?
Look, it's imperative. The issue is that many agents can't actually do the equation because they don't have available to them or easily available to them data that shows them their stats, David, right? It's so good in life, in business, to have something that's predictable, repeatable, and scalable, because once you know how to play the game, you just execute the rules of the game.
Yep.
The challenge that you have is when you don't know how many listings you've got to make to how many sales you've got to make. If you don't know, there's a few ratios that really matter. your list to sell ratio. So
Yep.
how many listings versus how many get sold. It's an important ratio, because if you know that you got a list to sell ratio of 80% and you know that you want to make, 80 sales, it's simple. I got to list 100 properties, right? Because that's 80%.
Yep.
It's also useful to know your appraisal to list ratio. How many listings I've got to go to get X amount of listings. That's important as well, because that helps you understand that I've got to do, say, 20 appraisals a month to actually get, 10 listings. So all those things are super critical. But most agents don't have easily available to them the data to work out those ratios. I know
Yeah.
that an Agentbox client has probably got a bit of an advantage there, because some of the data is captured automatically.
Yeah, and if for the Agentbox clients that are on here, little performance tab button down the bottom of the dashboard, that'll bring up your metrics, and you can scroll to the bottom and it will give you those appraisal to list and list to sell ratios there, as well as your average commission and those kind of ones as well. It's actually interesting that we're talking about data and planning, because I guess when people are setting targets, I kind of see some people that get really motivated by targets. They're going to set really big goals, and that's going to stretch them to improve. But the way I'm also thinking about it is that if you, for those that aren't necessarily super motivated, but are really, really analytical, just having that plan there for the year will be really, really powerful for them, saying, well, okay, it's January. I need to get X amount of sales. I need to get X amount of listings. You do the amount of calls if you really, really wanted to get down to that granular level as well. So that's actually something maybe we'll be able to do a webinar on to our clients and actually show them where to find those metrics and help plan that out. That's some good advice.
So already David, we've covered, like, for the agents that are sort of perplexed and need a prescriptive suggestion on what they should do now. We've actually said, start with the phone calls, doing your yearly summaries and your forecasts. And by the way, do scare the clients, because you want to get clients coming on the market fast. I don't know. Look, the market's hot. Now, I don't know whether it's going to be like this in March. So you can honestly have a conversation with your vendors and say, listen, I can't guarantee you we're going to have these conditions in March. The second thing is, we talked about your opportunity to go off and get clarity on how you finish the year by looking at your numbers and then setting your targets for next year. And that can be at a high level, listing sales, GCI. It might actually be at a lower level, number of appraisals, number of prospecting I've got to do. So that's the second thing that you should be doing.
Yeah, cool. So if you're going to park your car at the top of the hill and make sure that it's ready to go for the year, you mentioned a couple of listings already on the books. Are you thinking 2, 4, 6, as many as you can? Or what would be your plan to give yourself the absolute best chance for 2021?
Okay. So if you're working in the metropolitan areas, where normally speaking, the amount of stock an agent is holding is lower than, say, a regional/rural area,
Yep.
I would say that you want to try and go away with 6 to 10 listings secured for you to actually launch January, February, right? That's your launch pad. If you're an agent that's working, broader Australia, rural, regional areas, outside of the metro areas, normally they're controlling a little bit more stock. I would add another 50% onto that. But all I'm saying is, try and go away at Christmas as if January was a continuation of another month in real estate. Don't go off and create a big pause button, particularly for those that are in the category that aren't coming back on the 4th, those that are coming back on the 11th, those that are coming back on the 18th. What you want to do is to come back with momentum, right? You want to park that car with a handbrake on at the top of the hill. I've got to tell you, Rupert Murdoch, which is a company that I came from, Rupert Murdoch always had a belief, David, that If you if you started the financial year or the calendar year, whatever, whatever one that you're using, if you started that year strong, what would happen is you'd get momentum, and it would give you a great first quarter. If you had a great first quarter, you generally will have a good year. If you have a terrible first quarter, you're on the back foot, David. You're playing catch up, and when you're
Always chasing yourself. Yeah, absolutely.
and when you're playing catch up, I mean, you're in sales. Playing catch up puts you in a position to get desperate. And being desperate is not a productive way. I mean, clients don't want to deal with a salesperson that just wants to hit their targets. Clients want to deal with a salesperson that solves their problem. And the issue that you have is when you get desperate, what actually happens is you lose sight of the client and you start focusing on yourself, right? And that just compounds the problem even more, because all of a sudden, not only are you behind in figures, you end up losing your confidence because you realize, shit, I'm missing out business here. And the reason why you're missing out business is that clients can smell your commission breath a mile away. So don't put yourself in that situation. And I'll tell you what, you'll enjoy having drinks over Christmas better knowing that you've got something good to come to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the things you said there, and obviously, Simon, the GM at our office really well. And he said to me in the past that, Christmas is one of those things that people think like it's this really, really big break, and there's a stop to one year and a start to the other. But if you really look at it, it can only be a couple of days for people. And as you said, it's just like the continuation of another month. It might be a big part of the year, but I think that can be a mistake that some people make, where they're like, it is this big pause where it doesn't have to be. Yes, you can take some time off, but what you're doing in December really does need to flow into January.
David, it's not a big pause. And for many buyers and sellers, it's no pause. REA tells us the eyeballs go crazy during that holiday period. You've got to know that people now are using this mobile. This mobile is open at the beach on a towel in Noosa. This mobile is open on the couch while you're watching the cricket with one eye and you're surfing on real estate on the other. The consumers don't necessarily have a break from real estate. The agents do, but the consumers have got time. And time with your family means that you start thinking, hey, you know what? It'd be great if we had a pool. It would be great if we had a holiday home. It would be good if we left this 2-bedroom unit and we had a bit of a backyard. That's the kind of conversation people have on holidays.
And now they're going to, not unlike other years where they're like, yeah, this would be great, but I still need to go work in Sydney. People are now adopt flexible working conditions. So they're up at the Central Coast, they're lazing by a pool, they are looking at the ads, and then suddenly they're like, actually, I can actually do this because my workplace has got flexible working hours. I don't need to be in Sydney every single day. I can commute from the Central Coast or Wollongong or the Hunter and still have the lifestyle that I want. So it's almost like this year is giving us a new opportunity that wasn't available in the past because of that.
Yeah. 2020 is the year that we learnt about a new term called the death of distance. The death of distance happened. Even yesterday, I was presenting to another one of our joint clients, McGrath Port Macquarie. And, it was 2:00 in the afternoon when I started driving back, David. And I thought to myself, hey, I'm driving back to Sydney. I could actually drive to Byron Bay. It's only 3 or 4 hours away, right? I can actually just drive back to Byron Bay, and I could actually work from Byron Bay because I don't actually have any other conferences face to face that need me. It's all done by webcam, Zoom. So the only thing that stopped me was I had no underwear and socks. So I just head back.
That's actually not that different from my experience, because I was up in Port Macquarie a couple of months ago or maybe it wasn't. It would have been just after the lockdown happened, and it was 4 hours up there and 4 hours back, right? And I did that in one day, so that was 8 hours. But then, if you think about it, I used to commute an hour each way to work each day. So that's 10 hours of driving. So if I lived in Port Macquarie, worked remotely, and only drove to the office once a week, I'd actually be saving time plus being able to live.
Let me tell you, that's why Port Macquarie is the #1 search suburb on realestate.com in all of Australia.
Wow.
And that's why I couldn't actually get a hotel room until the last minute. And I got the last room and I checked in last at Port Macquarie Sales. And I've got to say to you, that's the reason why people have worked out that can now work. So, so I suppose all I'm saying is that this year is different.
Absolutely. No, that's very, very good, Tom. So I guess as a summary, Tom, we've got those three kind of things to pass on to our clients. We've got the call of the script.
Yep.
We've got focusing on cleaning up those open appraisals, calling those people that we've appraised in the last 12 months, giving them an end of year little shove, and then parking your car at the top of the hill, looking at your scoreboard, taking stock from the last 12 months, using that to put a plan in for 2021.
Listen, I think people out of this webinar have got 3 actionable points. And those that I know that we get 2 kind of viewers on here. We get Agentbox users and we get non-Agentbox users. And all I'll say to you is that if currently you're finding that you're winging it, currently, if you're finding it that luck is your strategy and memory is your database system, hit up David at Agentbox. The best way to go through it is through the URL www.agentbox.com.au.
Yes.
.au, and hit them up. And I know that there has been a major shift from many clients in my gym that were on other systems, have actually done the shift in the last 3 to 6 months to Agentbox. In fact, I was talking to even Todd Bates yesterday. He was coming from another system. Even Kaloshi, they came from another system, right? Yeah. So people are seeing the light. So David, absolute pleasure.
As always, and I always appreciate your support. And I think for all those clients, whether they're on Agentbox or not, this is a really good time, and it's a really good example of what is your database giving you. Because if you're not at the end of the year being able to get all of this data, plan for next year, understand what you're going to be doing month to month, well, it's either because the system can't give it to you or because the people don't want to put it into the system. So, that's where we can help out and make sure that we can set everyone a really good plan for 2021. So really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Guys, girls, signing off. Have a Merry Christmas. David, see you soon.
Always a pleasure, Tom. Thank you.